What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Red Rhino Nation. Right off the bat, I want to apologize. I'm sure you guys can tell I'm severely under the weather today, and my voice is definitely far from 100%. But the show must go on, so no flu bug is big enough to stop me from trying to bring you guys content. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys episode 1 of a new series I'm going to be bringing you guys, which I've named Breaking Down. In these episodes, I'll be choosing a unit within the game of Clash of Clans and showing you guys stats, how to attack with the unit, how to defend it, and so on. Today we're going to be starting with one of my personal favorites. She's versatile, she's a red-headed, axe-swinging, multiple barb-killing machine. And you guessed it, she's the Valkyrie. First, let's get the less exciting stuff out of the way quick. The stats. The Valkyrie has certainly evolved quite a bit in the last year or two. She never used to be this dominant. People were never using Valkyries. They were always using witches. It seems they've kind of switched places, and now hardly anyone's ever using witches. I've gone through a few websites to find for you guys the actual evolution numbers. It's one thing to say, well, she's just better now. Let's see exactly what they did to take the Valk from zero to a hero. In the first blue chart, you can see the Valk's stats, pre-2016, when she wasn't being used. The second peach-colored chart is the one I want you to really focus on. I've added the new stats, then in brackets how much since the 2016 update each characteristic has increased or decreased. So at level 1, as you can see, the damage per second has increased by 6 to 94. They didn't change the attack speed, however. They did improve how fast, once she gets to the target, she starts swinging. To kind of counteract the two buffs, the damage per second and the speed beginning when she attacks, to make sure she wasn't just going to be too powerful and overwhelming everything, they did decrease her hit points. Level 1, as you can see, they dropped her 150 hit points. Level 2, they dropped her 200. And as you can see, highlighted in yellow, they also added a brand new level to the Valkyrie, level 5. This is available to Town Hall 10s and over. So on to the second order of business today, which is attacking with Valkyries, and what units complement them well. Valks are a pretty versatile troop. There's not many units that don't go decent with Valkyries, on the right base of course. I've chose a few of the most popular to show you guys how I use them, and what my typical objectives are when using these attacks. So the first one is probably everyone's default attack. You either love it on offense, or you kinda hate it on defense. Go-Va-Ho. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Go-Va-Ho, it's golems, Valkyries, and hog riders. When doing this attack, my main objective for the kill squad is to kill the CC, the queen, the king if possible, maybe an X-bow, and any wizard towers that are in the vicinity of those other buildings near your entrance. I also try to send the golems in by any spots I think there could be a giant bomb. The giant double bomb isn't instant bacon anymore, but it is an instant need for a heal spell. Making you heal in those places takes away a heal that you could be using for, say, near a whiz tower. So once I've figured that out, I wait for my kill squad to start taking fire from the point defenses and the defenses on the far side, and I will either wall in the hogs or go with a surgical approach depending on the base. When using Valks on this attack, you want to drop your jump or wall breakers well before dropping your Valkyries. Delaying dropping your Valkyries allows the slow-moving golems to move from their spots of tanking for your funneling troops to taking the jump and moving into the base. Once the golems get to the jump or the hole you created with your wall breakers, that's most of the time your signal to drop your Valkyries. Valkyries are very speedy with a movement speed of 24. Golems are half as slow at 12. So if you drop your Valkyries before your golems are heading in, you have the Valkyries taking all the fire from the CC troops, the heroes, the defenses, and also be taking the fire from the giant bombs and probably get sprung by the springs. because they will definitely run out ahead. Be very careful when delaying your Valkyries. They do, remember, target the closest building. So if you don't make a wide enough funnel so the closest building is inside the walls, they will walk. Here is a really cool trick you can use, not just with Valkyries, but with bowlers and other units as well, to prevent walking. I don't know if it has a proper name, but I refer to it as the runway. So the idea of the runway is find your entrance point. Drop your golems on either side of it like you would on a regular funnel. Then drop your wizards behind each golem, but don't put any wizards between the golems. As your wizards do their thing, taking out the buildings for your funnel, they will leave a few buildings standing that act as anchors to guide your Valkyries and heroes straight into the core of the base. In this case, you will see the elixir storage, the gold storage, and 2 builder huts are my runway anchors. So you drop your wall breakers between your golems like normal. Wait for your golems to almost reach the hole. Then, watch the Valkyries. They target the runway buildings, then all head straight into the core. So now let's watch and show you guys what would happen on the same base from the same spot, not using the runway method. As you can see, the golem drops on both attacks targeted the mortars. But by the wizards taking out the few anchor buildings between the golems, watch how the Valkyrie's closest building becomes outside your funnel, causing them to walk along the outside, pretty much destroying any chance you have of a 3-star. By the way, I've just made this part of the video attacking a Town Hall 8 because they obviously don't have the base cooldown, so it's just easier for me to make bases to emphasize the points I make. This runway method works great against all Town Hall levels. A second way I like to use Valkyries is with a Golaloon, creating a Govalalo. The Queen and ADs are your kill squad objectives for this attack. Depending on how far in those things are, I'll use anywhere from 1 to 5 Valkyries. My objectives for a Govalalo is basically the same as a Golaloon. You're looking to take out the defensive CC, the Queen, and 2 air defenses. And also any wizard towers or expos. They're great bonuses if possible to take out some of those too. Then obviously the Lalo portion, you're looking to take out the remaining ADs as soon as possible, followed by the rest of the base. Normally you won't need any more than 2 rages for a back-end Laloon, if you're only taking out 2 air defenses. If you think you will need more than that, it's probably because it's a real spread out base. In that case, usually hastes are better than rages. Alright, so now let's get into the meat and taters of this video. Valk proofing your base. When Valk proofing your base, you need to know how Valks are going to move through your base. That's determined by building placement. Believe it or not, for example, in the middle of your base, where you want to place a trap, you have to find the closest building to the building you're placing the trap by. That determines where the Valk will be traveling, telling you where your trap needs to go. I know it may sound a tad bit confusing, but I'll break it down for you. Here we have 2 buildings, straight up and a tile over. The Valks will do what they do, go between the 2 buildings placed together. After it kills those, the next closest buildings will be the 2 other elixir mines. Since they're on the same side the Valks went in, they will most likely exit on the same side because it's closer for them. Now watch the Valks. They take the shortest way to the building, then walk up beside the first one. So a trap placed in that path, just in front of that first elixir mine, is the spot for a spring to defend Valkyries. Let's watch this again, and just watch how the Valkyries path. Watch how when the buildings are in a vertical line like that, The Valkyries go to the top side of the building they're going to be going between. Then they walk down the building. Alright, so what if the buildings are parallel, you ask? Well, I got you covered. Here the buildings are completely parallel. No matter what side the Valks enter on, of the side of the elixir mines, they're going to exit the side where the closest buildings are. The buildings are completely parallel. Therefore, the path of least resistance is straight across, making that the lucky spot for the trap. Let's watch this one again too. Because the buildings are parallel, there's no need for them to travel up the sides of the buildings. They go straight into your waiting spring. Here are some scenarios where I can show you some of the better places for springs. Let's focus on the very top setup and go over together how to find great places for spring traps. So in this one, we start by having two barracks together. The Valkyries will kill those and exit the side of the AD, because the AD is the next building. If it's only one building, the Valkyrie will go to the closest point of that building. In this case, it's the lower left hand corner of the air defense, making that the spring area. Example 2 starts in the east. The Valkyries traveling to the Dark Spell Factory. They don't run over the rubbish of a dead building, so they will move over to the side where the next building is. Then they will take a path straight up right into the spring. And the last example is the biggest, multi-step if you will. Starting in the bottom corner where the arrow points, the Valks will travel straight into the Dark Elixir drill, because they don't run over the rubble after the building dies. They will go at the Dark Elixir storage side. The closest point for them to attack will now be the bottom side of the right corner, making that a good spot for springs. They will then travel out the Dark Barracks side. Now they will travel to the closest point of the Dark Barracks where I have a spring. You may ask, if they travel down the sides of buildings, why are you putting the spring at the front side of the corner and not down the side a bit further? The answer is because if there's only a couple of Valkyries that are pathing in a line instead of a group, the Valkyries like to hug the very side of a building. If the spring is on the side, it's common for them to miss it, or set it off without being sprung off the map. So after they take out the Dark Barracks, they will exit the Dark Elixir drill side. They will walk down the Dark Elixir drill a bit to try to get between the drill and the Archer Tower, and eat another spring. Springs are a huge difference maker. If used properly, you have 6 springs, each can spring 15 to 20 troop space. That is 120 troop space. So make sure your springs are well placed. So with all this being said, the worst place I've found for springs is directly between 2 regular buildings or between a defense and a regular building. Valks won't go between them, and hogs are unlikely to pass over it. Make sure you look how the buildings are placed around where your springs are. The most important buildings are the closest buildings to the building where you have your trap at. That provides you your unit's path. Alright, everyone, that's about it for now. My voice barely held up, and I want to thank you all for hanging out with me today. Hope you've all learned something as well. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit the bell beside the sub button to be informed of when I upload next, drop a like, and head over to check out our other channel in the description. But for now, this has been a very sick Red Rhino Nation helping you raise your bar to 3-star.